Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Actually, it sort of is morning. It's 12:40 Monday morning.
Yep.
We are in Hemet, California, Southern California.
This is Hemet?
Yeah, we're right next to San Jacinto.
Oh.
As most of you know, we're here for... I'm ministering or officiating the young man Adrian's celebration of life in a few hours. My good friend, Brother Johnny, who I did time with, his stepson has passed. And so we're here for Johnny and his wife, Gracie. So Johnny just left a little while ago. He blessed us and got us, they blessed us and got us this room here. So we brought along our tripod because we knew we had to do a video for you guys. Before we get into the scripture, today's Sunday. Well, it was Sunday. Had a great service. The church was full. Some new faces. We had some visitors. People that have came last week and they came this week, and just so thankful for the families and the individuals that God is bringing, so we can love on them, disciple them, and give them a place, a safe haven to worship God without agendas. You know, just to worship God.
Amen.
You know, and but since we were, you know, even though I'm still in California, it's like a different state between North and South because it's so far. Like, California is such a long state.
Well, it seems so far it took us. We left over there at 1:30 this afternoon.
Yeah.
And we just got here.
Well, we stopped because first...
We made many stops along the way.
Well, my car was dirty, and I can't stand traveling with my car dirty.
True story.
Dropped my son off. We
met with Pastor Carlos.
Pastor Carlos from Hanford, California, who has started a Bible study that is an extension of House of Rest. So if you live in the Hanford area, which is, I don't know, south of Fresno,
yeah,
you know, he has an amazing Bible study every single Wednesday. And great guy, him and his wife, amazing couple. So since I never get to see them hardly, they met us off the freeway since we were traveling south, and had a good lunch with them.
Yeah.
And then we continued from there, and we stopped in Bakersfield to see Brother Edwin. Brother Edwin is another brother that I did time with along with Johnny. And I hardly ever go through Bakersfield without seeing Edwin.
That's true.
Yeah, and then we went to Kinko's.
We went to FedEx, yeah.
Yeah.
Made some copies of some memory cards for the funeral, and cut them up, and did all that, you know, and I don't know. It's just...
Yeah. So it took us a while. We made a lot of stops, but we're finally here, and we'll be having the service, and then heading back home.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about a very, very simple verse.
Oh.
No, I got it right here.
Okay.
And it's in the Gospel of John. John is the youngest disciple of Jesus. He's actually the only one that wasn't martyred. He's the only one that wasn't killed eventually over the years. John was the only one that lived his life to the extent of his years, of his old age. But the Gospel of John, honestly, for me, it's probably my favorite gospel. It's so beautifully written, and he writes the words of Jesus on this verse that I wanted to share. Really short verse.
Where?
John 14:15. It's just 7 words. Huh?
I said, oh yeah.
Well, Jesus says this, guys, and even though it's a short verse, it's heavy and it's meaningful. Jesus says this. He goes, if you love me, keep my commandments. Why do I say that? Because I think that it so easily comes out of the mouth, oh, I love Jesus, I love Jesus, I love Jesus. But Jesus makes it he draws a very definitive line. He says, if you love me, keep my commandments. What are his commandments? They asked Jesus what the greatest commandments were. He says, to love God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, and all your might. And likewise, love your neighbor. So here Jesus says, if you love me, then you'll love God with everything, and you'll love people with everything. If you love me, keep my commandments.
And here it says, if you love me, show it by doing what I've told you.
Exactly. You know, I think that to love Jesus in this day and age is so much more than just saying, oh, I love Jesus.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the spouse that says they love their spouse, but they do things behind their spouse's back. But then they go and say, no, I love my wife, or I love my husband. But their actions that they're living show the opposite of love.
Yeah.
Now it's the same way, right? Because say a cheating spouse says, I love you, I love you, I love you, but they're constantly with someone else.
Yeah.
Well, Jesus is saying the same thing. If you love me, then you're going to follow after me. Don't say you love me and go back to your old life.
You're cheating on Jesus.
Yeah. You know, and I think that it's so simple, yet for some reason it goes over people's heads. Guys, if you love the Lord, then follow his commandments. It's as simple as that. You know, and actually he says something further down that goes along with it. He says in verse 21, he goes, he who has my commandments and keeps them is he who loves me. So he who has my commandments, there's a lot of people that know the word. There's a lot of people that know scripture. There's a lot of people that know Hebrew and Greek and how to discern and how to define and all these things. And he goes, yeah, okay, you have my commandments. But he goes, he who has my commandments and keeps them, though, and does them,
and abides by them.
Jesus is not impressed when we know his word. He's impressed when we do his word.
Living by it.
He who has my commandments and keeps them, it is he who loves me. And then he goes, and he who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I will love him and manifest myself to him. You know what that word means, manifest? It means to show yourself. So, like in scary movies, like, oh, a ghost pops up. That ghost manifested himself to someone, or Bigfoot. Yeah. It's a Bigfoot sighting. The Bigfoot manifested himself to you. So what Jesus is saying here, that if you know my commandments and you do them, that's who loves me. And he who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I will love him, and I will manifest myself to him. You want to see God manifest himself in your life? Then don't just know his commandments, follow it. This is a promise. He says, in other words, he's saying, I will make myself known to you in your life if you follow after me. I will show myself in your marriage. I will show myself in your health. I will show myself in your ministry. I will show myself in your home.
So when people when people become saved, when they're doing that salvation, it's almost like when you're giving your vows,
Yeah.
and it's your vow unto Jesus. It's the same thing. But I think sometimes people don't comprehend that. It's not the same sometimes. Or do they forget?
I've heard it said that most people make their wedding day the most important day. But actually the most important day is the last day. Because you can say whatever you want on the day of marriage. But on the last day you can say, man, I kept my vows.
Wow.
The last day is the most important,
Yeah.
Which goes along with Jesus saying. Yeah. He goes, he who has my commandments and keeps them.
Yeah.
And keeps that's the key here. And even
to be kept.
Yeah, you keep it. It's like you can't say you love someone and then do the opposite.
Yeah.
You can't do that, I remember I had this friend that, oh man, when he was with his girlfriend, he would he would baby her and sweet talk her and
I remember this.
Buy her flowers and open the door for her and little sweet gestures. And I used to roll my eyes, not because I thought that was corny, but because 2 hours before I knew he was with some other woman. And I'm like, this dude, you know what I mean? It's like, it was crazy because I literally would see him cheat like nothing. And 2 hours later, we'd be having dinner and he would just be cherishing her. And I'm just like, dude, seriously? Like, I mean, this is before Christ, you know what I mean? But even then, I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And it's like, he says, he who has my commandments and keeps them, it is he who loves me. And if we go a little further, it says, Jesus answered and said to him, if anyone loves me, he will keep my word.
There was something else that you told me with that story, though, because I would always bug you. Remember, I would always bug you and tell you, you never give me flowers, you never this, you never that. Remember, I'd always get on you about that. And you told me that story, and you actually told me something. I can't quite remember exactly the exact words, but you'd say, you told me I'd rather be, what was it again?
I don't remember. I don't know.
I don't know, but you just told me something. I'd rather, instead of giving you flowers, I'd rather show you, or something to that, and that meant a lot to me, though, because I would rather have the realness of who you are than to have somebody who's not real. Yeah. Somebody who's gonna, get me flowers and not be real and not show me that real love.
Well, can't we say that people can say they love Jesus with their mouth, and at church they're the loudest and raising their hands, and in essence that's giving him flowers, you're giving him gifts, you're giving him adorations, but you're really doing stuff behind his back.
Yeah.
And a matter of fact, I wish I had thought of it, but in the Old Testament there's a part where God actually says, I hate your worship, I hate your church services, I hate those things because your heart is not in them. I hate your offerings.
Yeah.
And it's like, dang.
Yeah.
Like Jesus, like, if your heart ain't in it, I hate it.
That's heavy.
For him to say, I hate your worship,
yeah.
he actually says, your worship sounds like noise to me.
Wow.
So it's like, God is not impressed if your heart's not in it, because you got to understand, you might be able to trick your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, but God knows the hearts of men.
Yeah.
And it comes down to this last part too. He says, if anyone loves me, he will keep my word, and my Father will love him, and we will come to him and make our home with him. And he goes, man, if you love me and you follow after my word, I will live in your heart. I will make my home in you. And then there's a warning. He goes, he who does not love me does not keep my words. So here's to and I'm not talking about new Christians, guys. If you're a brand new Christian, you're growing in this. That's why you're watching this video. Yeah. Because the Lord is drawing you to him, telling you, hey, now that you're learning about me, I want you to start living this thing out. I am not talking to you, but there's some people that have been knowing the Lord supposedly for years, but they only know him by, like the way a parrot learns how to say something, but it doesn't really comprehend what it's
just mimicking.
Yeah, because he goes, he who does not love me doesn't keep my words, and the word which you hear is not mine, but the Father's who sent me. Yeah. You know, so he goes, so it's like, I've always said this, and I probably read it somewhere, it's probably not my quote, but it's better to know one Bible verse and live it out than to memorize 10,000 and not follow any of them.
Wow.
You know, so if you feel like if you're a new believer, a new Christian, and you're watching this and you're like, man, the Bible's so big, it's so vast, it's too long, it's too much to learn. And I want to tell you, that stuff doesn't matter to God.
Yeah.
Because by even watching these little devotionals, these little videos, and one verse at a time, it would be better for you to listen to this and meditate on it all day long, and then make it a part of your walk, than to read 10 chapters a day and not follow any of it.
And not understand and not know it and not exemplify it.
Yeah, there are people, guys, that are, you know, reading chapters and chapters and chapters every day. And you feel like, man, they're growing leaps and bounds. And, you know, I listen to this channel and I get like a little tiny bit of a verse and a little explanation, but I'm telling you that this is worth more in gold, because if you get this verse and grasp it and ingrain it and chew on it all day and make it a part of your walk, and you're like, man, you know what? I might not have read a bunch of chapters, but I know I want to love God and I don't want to cheat on God. So I'm going to start to learn to walk this thing out because I want him to know that I love him. You know, there's nothing more convincing about your love for God than to just follow what he says. That's it.
Yeah.
Follow what he says. You don't have to know Hebrew. You don't have to know Greek. You don't have to be a scholar. You don't have to go to Bible college. You don't have to do any of that to be a Christian.
All you need to know is his name, Jesus.
Yeah.
And call out to
and
him.
Follow him.
That's it.
You know, it's like faith in God is not saying, I believe he can do this. I believe he can do that. I believe, no. Faith in God is believing who he is. Because if you believe he is who he says he is, then all that other stuff is supplemental things. Yeah. That's it. Because if you focus your faith in God on somebody being healed, well, this is the fallen world and people still die. There's Christians in wheelchairs. There's Christians that are paralyzed. There's Christians that are blind. There's Christians that are deaf. You know, there's Christians
with brain problems.
Yeah. There's Christians that have been amputated. You know, they've lost a limb in Iraq or something. You know, so it's like, don't put your faith on the things that God can do. Put your faith on the God. Don't look at creation. You know, don't follow after creation. Follow after the Creator. Don't chase blessings. Chase the one that blesses. Yeah. You know, so when I say I have faith in God, I'm not talking about his actions. I'm talking about faith in him and who he is. That he is divine, that he is so much more intelligent than I am. He knows so much more than I know. I will never understand or comprehend him completely. I don't think our human brain cannot comprehend the things of God, that it would make our brains explode. Because if we can wrap up God into an ideology that this little brain can handle, then I think he ceases to be God. Because God is beyond the human brain. He's beyond intelligence. He's a big God. And if he tells me, hey, you want to love me? You say you love me? Then do what I say. I ain't going to question it. I'm like, all right, Lord, you're God, and you know more than me. So I'm just going to follow after you.
Yeah.
And it's simple as that. You don't have to overcomplicate it. Just love him. How? By living him, by living after him, by following him, by being him, being a representative of him. You know, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and you don't stop having faith. You know, a lot of the times people will, you know, even me being pastor's wife and everything, they think like, oh, well, you shouldn't be going through health issues. You shouldn't be going through this, and you shouldn't be going through that, you know, and they think my faith should be different for some reason, or they think that I should not be going through certain things, or that, you know, my belief system should be different or something. But the thing is that my faith is even greater. You know, you don't stop having faith, and you just keep moving forward, and you just keep trusting.
Yeah.
You keep praising, you keep thanking him, you keep being grateful, and you just keep having faith, and you keep moving forward, and you just keep saying, Lord, you know what? I know, I trust, I believe, and it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change my love. I don't stop believing, you know, and I don't go around moping around and feeling sorry for myself.
Yeah.
If anything, I praise him even more, and I'm more joyful, and I live my life to the fullest, you know, and I'm excited about worshiping, and I'm excited about serving God, you know, because I'm excited about the one God that I serve, you know. I don't show any different.
Yeah.
It's exciting. Exactly. Yeah. I can't live my life like that, because can you imagine how miserable I'd be if I lived my life like that? I'd be miserable.
You know, there's one thing in following God is nowhere in Scripture does it say some are called to be spectators. There is no spectators. The Bible doesn't say some are pastors, some are leaders, some are bench warmers. That is not a calling.
No.
You know, it's funny how when people watch football games, as they're sitting on their couch, overweight, eating Doritos with a big Pepsi, yelling at the players as if they know what to do. I always laugh at people on the sidelines yelling at the players of what they're doing wrong. Mm-hmm. And there's people like that in the kingdom of God.
Oh, yeah.
In the church, is all they do is complain about what the people out actually playing the game. And it's not a game, but you know, that's the illustration I'm using. It doesn't matter. You know, you got your playbook and saying this or this or that. No, man, put the playbook down and just go and play. And just go and fight.
Be part of the team.
Yeah, be part of the team. And follow his commandments. And do what Jesus is doing. Jesus never said stay on the sidelines and criticize what the other Christians are doing. Matter of fact, Jesus says, he who puts his hand to the plow and looks back is not fit for my kingdom. So if you're sitting there in the plowing the kingdom, looking at everybody else, what everybody else is doing, man, Jesus says you ain't fit for the kingdom. So I'm just like, I don't want to look around. I'm just going to keep plowing. I'm going to keep plowing. One video at a time, one sermon at a time, one prayer at a time, one rebuking at a time, one demon cast out at a time. Just keep working, keep working, keep working, because I don't want to be a spectator. I don't want to do that.
That's right.
And we should never want to be a spectator, because that is not a calling in the Bible. No. God has called you for great and mighty things. You know, and matter of fact, I'm going to end it with this one real quick. I just saw this earlier when I saw this verse. He said, most assuredly, I say to you, he who believes in me. So if you believe in Jesus, okay, he who believes in me, the works that I do, he will do also. And greater works than these he will do, because I go to my Father. And whatever you ask in my name, that I will do. And that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If you ask anything in my name, I will do it. So if you believe in him, Jesus says, then the works that I do, you're going to do even more. So sleep on that one. Well, actually, not sleep. We're going to sleep. You guys are just awake. So, all right, guys. God bless you. Thank you for viewing. We're out here in Southern California.
You know, continue to pray for Adrian's family, as today is gonna, you know, be a difficult time as they, you know, lay him to rest. You know, and you know, I know for the family is always going to be a hard time, as we know for us, we see it as a celebration, as, you know, as we lay him to rest, but it's still a hard time for the family, and we ask that you just continue praying for his family, because it is going to be a very difficult time. So we ask that you just continue to pray for his family.
Okay, guys. Have a good day. God bless you.
Bye, guys.